Hi everyone, welcome to AI Show. Happy
Hello,
Friday.
hello. Happy
Hi.
Friday. Happy AI show.
Yeah, and Peggy in the background.
Ah,
Um, yeah, tell us what we are going to do today, B.
well, we have a really exciting show today. So the first part, I'm going to be interviewing VJ about data labeling. And data labeling is like super important. Like, unless you're like using a toy data set that is already labeled, if you're doing anything for real, you're going to want to label your data. And it just turns out, that Azure has really, really great ways to do that, right? So that's what VJ is going to talk about.
Oh,
So
I'm
I
so
think
glad.
this is just important for everybody. Like if you're into
Yes.
machine learning, you should be watching this. And in the second part, Aisha, what are we going to talk about in the second part?
We are going to continue talking about speech. Last time we didn't really get to see the code, so we are going to do that and answer any questions that you might have about speech. So stay tuned for that in the next half.
Yeah, and if you watched Ignite, the keynote, the machine learning keynote, this is the demo that Aishagol presented at Ignite. So you're going to be looking at the code in a little bit more detail. You get to ask her questions if you want. So this is really a great opportunity for that.
Yes. I am going to ask a question to VJ too. I used custom vision before, and I was so shocked like how manual labeling is. I'm like, I'm
Don't
a
worry,
software engineer to automate, not to do things manually.
we're going to talk about custom vision too in the interview. That's going to come up. I'm just giving it away, so you know a little bit about about the future here. But yeah, so we'll definitely touch on that, and I'm sure you'll have follow-up questions on that. So,
Yeah.
but I just want to know where are people from? Who's watching and where? Like, tell us your name, tell us where you're from.
Yeah, we know you're there.
Yes, we do because we can see it.
Yeah.
So,
Mm.
yeah.
For people who are tuning in just now, please say hi. But also, we are going to do an interview with VJ, and B is going to do that interview. And meanwhile, you can still ask your questions, but we are going to wait for the end of the interview to answer those.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's it.
Anything else you want
Awesome.
to share, B? What have you?
No. Sorry?
Anything that you're working on you want to share with us before?
Yeah, I have a blog post coming out today.
Oh, really?
Yeah, if all goes well, right? Because it was going to come out yesterday and it was going to come out last week. You know how it goes, right? And I was like, oh yeah, I should also talk about this. Oh, I should explain this better. I should add an image for this. But I think I'm actually nearing the end. And so I'm going to be posting a blog post about classifying signals, like time-based signals, using spectrograms and scalograms. And so those are like two techniques where you can transform your signal into an image that includes more information than the signal itself. Like it includes information about frequency. Yeah, mostly like it adds information about frequency and amplitude to a certain extent. And then once you have those images, you can use any machine learning technique that classifies images, like CNNs. And so it just makes it kind of easy to do it, but also better than the original signal because it actually contains more information than the original signal does. So that's what I'm going to be blogging about. It's not an Azure ML post. It's all just machine learning technique. But the idea is that I will explain how to do that, and then I'll use that to I'll add a bunch of other Azure ML features on top of that in the future, so that you learn how to do things with Azure. Like it's essentially like a base project that I'll use to show a bunch of other features. Maybe even data labeling. Like who knows?
Yeah. That's great.
Because I'm going to learn.
What is your
So
data?
my data is like this activity data. I think it'll put out. I think by the University of California for that classifies, like it gathers like data from gyroscope from a phone and oscilloscope from a phone. So it's like a time series, and it classifies it based on what people are doing, like if you're running or walking or standing or whatever. So it's essentially like something that could be useful for like a smartwatch, right? Like
Yeah.
if like how does my watch know that I'm running, or walking? if I forget to, like in this watch, like if I forget to like if I go for a walk and I forget to tell it that I'm going for a walk, it will actually pop something up and say, "Hey, are you walking? Do you want to track this?" And that's pretty awesome, right? And that's the kind of thing that you will learn how to do in my blog post, like detect that somebody is walking. Yeah,
that's exciting. Yeah, you might be able to even tell if someone is, not feeling good from their walking. Probably. But
yeah, like if it's a walk, but it's a bit weird.
yeah,
Maybe.
sometimes
Yeah.
patients get dizzy and stuff like that. We had a project with the computer vision that was trying to figure out, well, actually connects the camera with the depth sensor. Yeah.
Yeah,
If
that's cool.
somebody is going to fall or just fall.
Yeah, that makes sense. So what are you working on these days? You just did a talk, right?
Yeah. It was about mixed reality, WebXR, device APIs, and speech there too. So yeah, and I'm going to be doing more of JavaScript in the future. So
Nice.
there will be more WebXR talks, hopefully.
Great. Awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Well, should we start with the interview?
Sure. Yeah, I'll leave you and add Vijay.
Hi, BJ. How are
Hi,
you?
hi,
Well,
hi everyone.
okay, so this is still the informal part of the interview. For people that haven't watched this before, the way we do this is the AI show live. And we also have the AI show where you see just the kind of edited interviews that we do in this show. So in this show, in the live show, you're going to see me interview VJ, and you're going to see that we're going to mess up. We're going to re-record things. We're going to say silly things, and then just say, cut that. I didn't mean to say that, like on camera. So you're going to see like the unfiltered version, the behind the scenes of the interview. So, and the cool thing about it for like being here right now is that you can ask him questions, which you can't do in the AI show because he's not going to be there live for you. So that's really cool, and you can kind of help us like kind of guide the topics that we're going to be talking about. So stay until the end of the interview so you can ask him questions. Okay, so I think we can start. So. Aishko, you'll be doing the switching, right? Just to confirm that.
Yes.
Okay, so Ryan is our producer. Ryan, you don't have to worry about it. Aishko will do this part. Okay. Yeah. You don't want to miss this episode of the AI show where Vijay Kainan talks about data labeling in Azure ML. Stay tuned. Hi, Vijay. How are you?
Doing good, Beatrix. How about you?
Good. Well, I'm really excited to have you on the show because the topic that you're going to be talking about is just like super exciting and also like super like important for just about anybody who's doing machine learning, right?
True.
So tell us who you are and what you do.
Sure. Yeah. First of all, thanks for inviting me into this AI show. I'm Vijay Kannan. I'm part of the Microsoft AI Azure Machine Learning organization. My team and myself, we are primarily focused on enabling data labeling capabilities as part of the Azure ML.
Okay, so you mentioned data labeling. Tell us when is that used, and what is it? What is data labeling, and why do we need it?
Sure, definitely. Yeah, data labeling, you can think it's mainly around detecting and annotating data, right? So with the labels, right? In this case, the data could be more like images, text, or video, audio, or even LiDAR files or radar. There are a lot of different formats of data, right? Generally, the machine learning professionals or data scientists, they will have the unlabeled data, right? Which they want to get it labeled. And these scientists will look for some kind of a labeling service to convert this labeled data into more of a labeled data, right? So that's where they'll use some kind of a labeling service. So once the labeling data has been prepared, these scientists take this labeled data and then feed it into their machine learning models for further training the model, right? This is what the data labeling is about.
Okay, so can you give us like a high level overview of the labeling workflow?
Sure, yeah, definitely. So I'll talk about more at a high level workflow, how it works in the AML labeling space. So let's say we have the unlabeled data, right? So the person comes in and then they create a labeling project in AML. And then once the project is created, we have a task creator component, which takes this unlabeled data set and then start creating task for the human labelers. These are primarily the tasks which the human labelers are going to pick and then start labeling, right? So here, if you notice here, the human labelers pick this unlabeled task and then they started generating the label data set. So this process can keep on going, right? At this point, you have the option to export the data. So there are several formats we support. Later, I will speak about in the later part of the session. So this process can keep going. So as this process keeps going, and once we have enough labeled data set, we do something interesting. So what we do is we train a machine learning model behind the scenes, right? And then we use the output of the model in several ways, right? Initially, you can look at like the model quality may not be that great, right? But over a period of time, it will improve. But we still want to use the early output which we are getting from the model. So what we do is we create a clustered task, meaning like a clustered task, you can think more like similar images grouped together, right? So when the labeler sees those similar images grouped together, it is easy for them to label. And this will help them to speed up their labeling process. And also it will also minimize the context switching, right? And reduce the cognitive load. So there are several benefits comes with that, right? So this can happen as fast as the clustering. Once the model is very confident, okay, what the label is, and it is super confident, then the model will automatically start predicting the labels for the upcoming images. So that we call it as pre-labeling. So together, the clustering and pre-labeling on our scenario, we call it as more of an ML assist task. That's how it happens. So this is the overall flow, how the AML labeling works today.
Okay, so I got really intrigued about the clustering and pre-labeling because I feel like that will really speed things up. But I'd love to see a demo. Can we see a demo?
Sure, yeah. Second. Yeah, so what you are seeing here is ml.azure.com. So this is the Azure Machine Learning Studio, right? So here we have several services as part of Azure ML. People can come in, create notebooks. They can create ML pipeline using Designer, right? And then they can register, deploy ML models. So under the Manage section, you see the data labeling services. The user comes into data labeling. Let's say the user comes in here. They click on add project, right? So for creating a labeling project, they go through a series of steps here, right? So for example, 5 to 6 simple steps the ML professional goes through. The first one is they provide a project name here. In this case, I'm going to use any name here. Right, and then if you look at here, the media type, there are two media types we support. So one is the image and the text so far, right? With image, there are multiple labeling project types. So first two are like image classification, multi-class, image classification, multi-label. The difference between these two is given an image, if you are able to assign only one label to that image is called multi-class. Given an image, if you are able to assign multiple labels to that same image is called multi-label. Object detection, you can think it's like more like drawing a rectangular bounding boxes within an image, right? You can identify various objects and mark it, right? More like a rectangular boxes. And instance segmentation is something interesting where you can draw exact contour around each and every object within an image. So these are the 4 types we support today, and all these 4 project types are already in GA. Right, and now I switch to media type text. We also support text labeling. So if you notice the first two, which is more like a text classification multi-class and text classification multi-label, this is, you can think more like a document level classification. Given a document, if you are able to assign only one label to the entire document, that is called multi-class. Given a document, if you are able to assign multiple labels to that same document, is called multi-label. With the NER, which stands for named entity recognition, is like you can think, given a document, you can pick a word, assign a label. It can be a word, it can be a sentence, it can be a paragraph, right? So you can tag those lines and assign a label. So we support all these text-related project types. The first two are currently in public preview, and the third one, NER, is currently in private preview. So not many people will have access to it. If they need access, probably they can reach out to me. I can grant them access. Then they'll be able to see this capability as well. So the user goes through this several steps, and then if you notice here, they can define the labels, provide the instruction how the labeler needs to label the data. So all those steps are there. And if you notice here at the last, we also support the ML assisted labeling, which I talked about, right? So here the user will be able to even choose opt-in, right? Whether I want to use ML assist in this labeling project or not. They will have that kind of a flexibility, right? Let's say the ML professional goes through the step and then create this project, right? I already have a project where it has been already created. So I will show you quickly. I'm just switching my tabs here. Okay. So once the project is created, this project, if you notice, we already have labeled several images. That's where all this dashboard got populated. But if it is a project newly created, all these dashboards will be empty in the initial. Then it will automatically start populating, right? So if you look at here, this is more of a project management aspect. So now, as a PM of the project, I myself have access to label the data, right? In that case, I'm going to click the label data button, which will take me to the labeling experience. You can see that. And also, we also support the labeler role, where the labelers will not be able to see any of this information. They can only label data. The experience for labeler is going to be like this, right? If they click the label data, so if the instruction was typed in, the instruction would show up here. They come in, let's say the first image loads up. But if you notice here, when I came into the first image itself, since this project was ML assist enabled, and we have already labeled manually few hundred images, so the machine process kicked in, the ML assist process kicked in, automatically start detecting the labels here. So you can see the status on the top task pre-label. That means the machine has identified what the label is, right? This is what it sees. So if you notice here, already board has been tagged. So in this case, as a labeler, if it looks good, I just need to simply accept and submit it, right? I submit it, the next image shows up. Let's say the ML assist process identified the car. So now, based on my scenario, if I'm looking for more preciseness, right, I feel, oh, I need to adjust the label. So I can go and adjust the label here. Things looks good, I submit it. The next object shows up. So now in this case, you see a lot of cars over here, right? Imagine I'm going to draw the bounding box for each and every car. It is more time consuming, right? This is where the ML assist process helps in. But in order for the ML assist process to kick in, we should have labeled a few hundred images in the beginning, right? That's how the model gets learned. So, and other than this, there are a lot of UI settings available. You can adjust the zoom. Then you have the brightness adjustment, contrast adjustment, right? And then you can put it in the full screen mode, right? So, and those options are available. And in case if the image does not fit into any of this label class, we have the skip function. So there are several functions available here. And if I click on shortcuts, there is a lot of shortcuts available just to help the labeler to speed up the labeling process. So now I'm going back into the project. This is the labeling flow. Now I go back into the project here. And if you notice here, now as a PM of the project, I can review the work of my labeler, how they did it, right? So in that case, I click this label data experience here. The first image shows up here. So now as a PM, I can look at, oh, my labeler labeled it rightly. Now I click next, right? Okay, if it looks good, I accept it and then keep navigating. As a PM, if I don't accept the label, what my labelers have done, I can even change the label, or I can tag another label also. And then you see the update label button here, you click it. So the PM will be able to override the label what the labeler did it. So this is more of the review flow kind of. Then at any time, the PM of the project have the option to export the data, right? So currently for this kind of object detection, we support export to COCO file, export as AML data set, right? If you export AML data set, it will create a data set, and then you can use that exported AML data set in the rest of the AML pipeline, right? So yeah, and one thing I wanted to show you, like if I go back into the dashboard here, I talked about the ML assisted, right? So if you want to know more about the ML assist process, you can click on this experiment link, which will take you to the experiments tab here. So it should take like few seconds for this to refresh. So if you notice here, so when the experiment was running, so as the human labeling was happening, we have been retraining the model also, right? Because the model continued to learn. You can look at what is the mean average precision score for each run. And then if you are interested to more, you can click on that specific run. Even you can click on the child run, navigate further kind of, right? And then if I go into the child runs here, you can see for the child run, what is the mean average question score. You can look at it here, right? And then if I click on this link, and then if I go into outputs and logs, this is where it's interesting. So here you see this a folder called train artifacts, and you see the file called model_wrapper.pickle. This is the model file which got custom trained for the user scenario, for the ML professional scenario, right? Here, the user has the option to even download this file, right? It's a custom trained model. They can download this file, they can deploy this file here, and then they can create an AKS endpoint, and they can call this AKS endpoint for further inferencing. So this is around the ML assist portion. This covers the brief demo of the labeling services, what we have.
That is just super cool. So because of these ML assisted capability that you added, then people can save a ton of time, right? Because when clustering and pre-labeling kick in, they're kind of done. They don't have to do that much more work. But I'm still thinking, like, some people may not even want to label those first few hundred images by hand themselves. Like, they may want to outsource that, right? So I'm just wondering if you support outsourcing labeling to vendors.
True, correct. Yeah. So here, yes, we do support outsourcing to vendors here. So even it's part of the second step on the flow. So what we did is, from Microsoft side, we have identified 2 vendor companies, and those vendor companies can provide labor force to help in labeling, right? Generally, when we say based on workforce, majorly, there are 3 types of labeling. One is the private workforce, then there is outsourcing, then there is the crowdsourcing. We support both the in-house labeling, which is more the customer can have their own labor force to label the data. The second one is the outsourcing part, which I talked about, right? So about those vendor companies can come and help on labeling. Only call out here is the business model is going to be like this. So from Microsoft side, at this time, we are providing only a platform, right? We don't have direct labor force. That's where we have this vendor workforce here. So the model is going to be, we'll be connecting the customer to the vendor through the Azure Marketplace. So the customer can go into the Azure Marketplace. They can look at the profile of the vendor companies. Even they have the option, contact me. Once they click it, so the Azure Marketplace will route the customer to the vendor, and the vendor, within, like, say 48 hours or so, they will connect back with the customer and talk about, like, to further understand what the scope look like, timelines, all those things. They have to hash out separately. It has to be a separate contract outside of Microsoft. So all those pricing, everything to be dealt. Once this flow works, then the customer can create a project flow, and then they can add the corresponding vendor into the labeling project and continue labeling.
Very cool. This is really cool. So, but what if people already have their data labeled or partially labeled? Do you have any support for that?
Yeah, I like that question. So yeah, so that's a great question. So so we have a capability called labeled dataset import. So you may not see it in this flow which I am showing here, but that is currently in preview phase. Like in fact, we shared with many users on that one. So I can enable access. So what that will do is several of the users in the past years, they have used their own labeling tool, or they use some other open source tool and label lots of data. So now they looked at AML labeling. They were super excited to move that data into AML labeling. So the ask was, hey, how I can port the data which I already labeled? And the scenario could be like, once they port it, some scenario is like, okay, I'm going to resume where I left off, right? I imported it, I want to continue further. So we do support like continue labeling. The other scenario is after import, the user want to relabel it again, right? Make further optimization on the existing label. So we do support start over, so where the pointer will go back to the first image, and then the user can label the data, right? So we do support these 2 scenarios as part of the label dataset import.
Great. That's great. So are there any plans to integrate with Cognitive Services Custom Vision?
Yes, so this question periodically comes. Yes, so the thing is, in fact, Cognitive Services Custom Vision and AML, we are all part of the same organization. So what we are currently working at is more of an integration scenario. In fact, currently it is in preview also. In fact, we shared with some customers where our users will start seeing, once they label the data in AML, they can take this labeled output and directly into Cognitive Services Custom Vision and train it in that model. I mean, it's vice versa also. Even users going into Cognitive Custom Vision, if they want to have the data labeled, so they can come back, route it into AML labeling, they can get it labeled and take it forward. So from the UI standpoint, you would start seeing in the coming weeks or months, those integrations start lighting up. And in fact, it is in private preview already.
Great. This is great. So do you support labeling for healthcare, like healthcare related images?
Yes. Yes. So yeah, we recently started supporting, got into healthcare. So we started with labeling of X-ray images, right? So with healthcare, when we say there is X-ray images, MRI, CT scans, ultrasounds, are a lot of modalities out there. So we started supporting X-rays. So X-rays currently it's more like a DICOM format images. So if the user has the images directly in DICOM, they can upload those DICOM images into the blob storage, and then they can use our labeling platform. In fact, our there is a different UI controls for when we use X-ray images. So you will have the window and level functions. So you would see different set of controls. We automatically detect, in fact, like whether it's a DICOM, we show those controls. If it is a regular BMP or JPEG, we show different controls. So we do support it.
That's great. So imagine that I label my data set, and then later I decide that I want to add more data to my data set. How does that workflow work?
Correct. Yeah. So definitely, several scenarios customers or users will run into this scenario. So that's where we have a step in the project creation called the incremental refresh. It's just a simple step. You just enable it, kind of, right? So assuming you have 1,000 images or already uploaded into your blob storage location, and your labelers have labeled it to the most part. Now you realize, oh, I need to add another 500 images into the same labeling project, which can come in after 2 weeks, after a month, or 2 months later, right? But you want to get it labeled as part of the same project. So in order to do that, you go into the incremental refresh option and just enable it, right? So it's a simple checkbox, enable it. So what we do is, once it's enabled, we set up a polling process. In fact, that polling process runs every 3 hours, which go and look for is there is any newly added images into your blob storage location. If so, this process will automatically detect what those additional images are and start feeding those new images into the labeling pipeline, right? And the labelers can keep on continue labeling. So this capability exists today. So in fact, this is more like polling process. In fact, it is almost in the process of rolling out. So we are doing this on-demand incremental refresh, where if the user feels, oh, right now I want to upload my new images, additional images, and continue labeling, so they would have the option to on-demand refresh also.
This is awesome. So I think that people learned a lot today with your demo and all the answers to these questions. But what if people want to learn more about it? Where can they go to find out more?
Yes. So yeah, definitely. So one is like we have these links available as part of this show. We are sharing what those links are. It's more like a documentation which are already available. They can go to that link, and then in the documentation, if they need further help, there is a link option. If they click that option, any feedback, anything, which will all route to our team. So we look at those feedback on a daily basis, kind of.
This is great. I think this was great. I think the feature is great. I think your demo is great, and I hope that people are as excited as I am about this. So I just want to thank you, Vijay, for coming to the show. I think this was really a great show, and thanks for coming.
Yeah, thanks for inviting me to be part of this show.
Sure.
Very exciting. Yeah.
In this episode of the AI Show, you learned about the data labeling workflow in Azure ML in detail. You learned how ML-assisted data labeling can greatly speed up labeling through clustering and pre-labeling, how Azure ML can help you outsource the labeling task, and how you can use data labeling with Cognitive Services Custom Vision. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Hi, everyone. That was great. Thank you.
Yeah.
For
do you think we need to do any retakes on anything, Aishko?
Well, at the beginning, I might have started the bumper really fast.
I thought that was fine.
You think? Okay.
I thought that was good. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I think I did get the end of your sentence, but
usually we have the opposite problem, right? There's like too much of a pause before the bumper.
Pause is more fixable.
Yeah.
As long as we have it there.
Yeah. So yeah, if you guys have any, for our audience, if you have any questions, this is your chance to ask them. So Vijay is here; he can answer any questions about data labeling. I have a question for you, Vijay, though. I'm just wondering, how does the billing part of it work? How do people get billed for this?
Sorry.
That's an interesting question. So yeah, so as far as billing, for the AML labeling, if it is more like a human labeling, we don't charge. There is no platform fee attached to it, right? Here, the user can have like they can label one image, 100 image, 1,000, 1 million. There is no charge. There is no platform fee, right? If it's a human labeling. If they enable ML assisted labeling, for ML assisted labeling, as I mentioned, we need to train a machine learning model, right? For which we need a GPU compute. The user has to attach a GPU compute. Once they attach the GPU compute, then it's based on the number of hours of run the GPU compute, right? Then the customer will get, or the user will get billed. Other than this, there is a storage cost, that is Azure storage cost. We don't charge anything separately from AML standpoint. So, but I would say at this time it is only charged for the ML assist if the user enables it.
Right, that makes sense. So I'm interested, Ashkal, like you were mentioning at the beginning, you were talking about custom vision and how you got frustrated in the past that you have to label everything by hand. So like tell us like what was your experience and like how do you think that this will help you? You're muted.
Yes, thank you. I was actually.
You know, they make T-shirts with that now, saying you're muted. Right?
I know. Yeah.
The sentence of the year.
Yeah. At least I'm not a cat. So I was actually you see the headsets behind me. So our normal vision service can't detect any of them because I mean they're pretty new, right? Like there's not many of those out there. So I want to train the data, and I use Power Platform. Power Platform already has some tools. Basically, it automatically finds the thing and then creates the, rectangle around it, but you still have to do a lot manually.
So let me see if I
you have to
understand.
go one by one.
So your scenario is like you actually have images of headsets. Is that what it is? Like you have photos of different headsets and you want to classify what kind of headset it is?
Yes.
Like the type. Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was just surprised like how much time that you have to spend just tagging the images. But
yeah, that is the main the key value prop or the key goal for labeling is around how we can help our user customer to fast track the labeling, because we know we heard so many times kind of, right? So labeling is a time consuming, cumbersome, it's so hard kind of thing, and most of the time the data scientists, they don't want to do the labeling, this kind of a manual labeling. They want to spend their time more effectively kind of, right? So that's where the ML assist capability what we have will really help. So yeah, initially we need to label like 100 or 200 in the beginning, but then the ML assist kicks in and then it will automatically start taking care of it.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So you think you're going to be using it, Ashkal, in the future?
Yeah, of course. I mean, it's really nice to have that option that I don't have to do, but I have to find a new thing. It worked great for the headsets. Yeah, new image sets.
Yeah, makes sense.
We don't have any questions, but hey, everyone, we know you're there. Come on.
Yeah.
This is your chance to ask questions.
Exactly. We can see how many people are here. Oh, greetings from Nigeria, Delta State. Let me show that. Look at that. That's somebody from Nigeria watching this. Thank you. I would try to pronounce your name, but it's hard. So I'm just going to pass on that.
Yeah, I looked at it and I couldn't, even guess. Thank you for saying hi, though.
Yeah. Anybody else here from interesting places? Introduce yourself, say hi, and if you have questions about data labeling on Azure, Vijay is here. He's the PM for this feature, so he can answer any questions you may have. Anybody has like some sad story or terrible story about labeling? Like how many weeks you spent manually labeling something?
Yeah. So, Vijay, how long have you been at Microsoft? You might have said it, but I missed it.
Yeah, I've been with Microsoft almost like 15 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And when did you start working with the labeling?
I've been with the AI team for almost like 5 years. So prior to it, I was in part of mainly I have my data background. So almost I would say all my career is the data. So I used to be in BI, managing the data warehouse, big data platforms. I was part of the Bing advertisements BI team. Then eventually moved from BI into AI. So I've been sticking with AI for last almost 5 years.
Yeah, it's a great team. And also, like in 5 years, so many things changed, right? I joined Microsoft 3 years ago, and since then, because we have a great AI team, it's bigger. There's just so much that we add every month, basically.
Correct. Yeah. In addition to labeling, I also cover the Spark integration. This is AML to Spark. So that product also my team owns it. So I covered that area as well. Where if a user wants to do, if they have a lot of volume of data, if they want to do some kind of data wrangling before, generally that's a different concept. It's like before you even train the model, you want to do some data preparatory work. That's where the wrangling comes in. So I manage that portion as well.
Can you tell us more about it?
It is like, so for example, if the customer wants to train a machine learning model, right? So if they want to do some data wrangling, either they use several other things like Synapse or Databricks. There are several things out there. They go and do it. So now, instead of going and using it there, they can come into Azure ML and then have their notebook, right? In the Azure ML notebook itself, they can start writing piece of code which can do the data wrangling, right? And then they can attach a Spark compute. So into AML notebook, once that is done, they can even perform like large intensive operations of understanding the data, exploring the data. Right. Once that is done, they finalize the data set, and then they can move forward in training the machine learning pipeline.
Got it. That might be a good thing to have you back and talk about that. Like
Yeah,
another interview about that in detail.
Yeah.
Like with a demo and stuff.
Yes.
That would be cool. Well, we have somebody else here from India. Mobashir from India. Thank you, Mobashir, for introducing yourself and saying where you're from. The person from Nigeria that I can't pronounce his name says, please want to learn more data labeling service and how to comment on labeling data. So Vijay did his interview, like we just finished the interview. I don't know when you joined, but he has a really great demo where he shows how you can add labeling. Is there like a specific, if you have like a specific question, or Vijay, do you want to comment on this?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So based on the question, this is my understanding. So definitely as part of this show, we will share what the links are. There are already like 5 to 6 external facing documents, which is already available as part of the Azure ML website. In fact, we'll share it. And to the other part of the comment, how I can comment on labeling data. So currently it is about choosing the labels, right? So what we are working on currently is around attaching the metadata. It's not about the labels. Users wants to attach more data about the label. So that is something which we are currently in our roadmap, and we have started looking into it. So you would see those metadata properties coming up in the coming weeks and the coming months.
Yeah, and if you have any questions, you can always reach out to Vijay on LinkedIn also. Yeah, exactly, that one.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's how you can reach out to him after the show, if you can think of other questions. So Frederick does have a question. Is there an MS Learn course for data labeling? I'm not aware of one. Do you know, Vijay, if there is one?
No. So not at this time there is a must learn course kind of specific, but we have published videos, right? So how this overall, the demo, what I walked through, in fact, we extensive demo. So we went in more detail about the demo. So that is available in YouTube or the channel 8, some of the areas we have uploaded. So as a course, it does not exist today, but we have we have the full walkthrough of the capabilities.
That makes sense. And then when the interview comes out, so we recorded the interview for the AI show, not this is the AI show live, so record the interview for the AI show, and there you can also watch the demo in detail and try to replicate it with your own data. That would be a good way to learn. That makes sense. Frederick, where are you from? I could guess, but I don't want to guess. How she says, 'cause,
It is
yeah.
hard. Where are you located, Vijay?
I'm
Where are you
located in
doing?
Redmond.
Oh, Redmond.
Redmond,
Okay.
yeah, as part of the main campus.
Most of our guests has been from Redmond so far,
Oh,
right?
Yeah, I would say so. Like Redmond, Bellevue area, like around there. Yeah.
It's an international team, though, right? Because we have all these language services and yeah.
correct. Yeah.
Right.
For sure. All right. Any other questions for Vijay? Does anybody have anything for him? Well, if not, then we should move on to Aishkal's demo, because Aishkal, oh, somebody's saying hello.
Hi, Rami.
Hello. Hi, Rami. How are you? Where are you located, Rami? Where are you from? So anyway, if there, Vijay, do you have any closing remarks? Anything you want to leave us with? Any like
Best practices.
wise words? For our guests?
Well, actually, happy to, if anyone has any information needed or if there is any feedback, always feel free to reach out to me through LinkedIn. Happy to be help you on that part. And even if you are interested in some, we engage with several user customers on the private preview mode. They'll have some early preview, so before it launches out. So if you want to be part of it, yeah, feel free to reach out to me. Happy to involve you as part of the private preview. Take in feedback, right, which will definitely help as we move along the product.
Very cool. Well, somebody's asking you, Vijay, if you're from India. Are you from India?
Yes, I am from India. I'm from Pondicherry.
There you go. And also, Rami is telling us that he's from Germany, and Frederick is telling us that he's in New Jersey. So very international people here watching the show, which is very cool. Great. All right. So then should we move on, Aishkal? What do you think?
Sure. Well, thank you so much, Vijay, for coming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much for inviting me into the show. Thank you.
Yeah, this was really great. We really appreciate you coming and sharing your knowledge with us. All right. Bye, Vijay.
Bye.
Hello.
Hi, Aishkal. So you have a lot for us today, right? Like last or 2 weeks ago, we had like very little time for your demo. You had all these like grand plans to show us this demo, and then we kind of rushed through it. But today we have more time, so yeah, tell us about your demo. What are you going to do?
It's time. So what I'm going to do is do the demo that from Ignite, as you mentioned, like how to get started with the speech APIs, speech to text for transcription, and then how to do the translation as well.
Awesome.
It is exciting for me. And then if we have more time, we can look into like how to do the intents. Yes.
Okay.
I try to do that, like to be able to change some stuff with speech, but we'll see if we have time.
Very cool. All right, let's do it. I'm excited. I want to learn more.
Let me share my screen. Okay. Share screen. Okay. All right. Here we go. So I'll paste the link here in the comments, so you could follow along. And if we don't get to it, you can continue working on it. So a little bit of overview. I didn't sleep last night, so my mind is scattered. So help me out if I.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Going all over the place.
I'm the one who has insomnia of the two of us, right?
Yes. Yes.
I slept well. So now you know what it's like.
No, I have insomnia for the longest time, and the funny thing is I couldn't sleep, and I watch about, like, I learn about how bad it is for you.
Yeah, see,
Yeah, from
did you read that latest sleep book?
no.
There's like a super well-known sleep book that just came out that tells you why sleep is important for you. I'm totally not reading it because I don't want to like panic about what I'm missing out on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Basically,
Anyway.
sleep researchers were saying, forget about not sleeping all night. Even an hour has a huge impact on you.
I don't want to know.
Yeah.
Anyway, so back to your cognitive services demo.
Yeah. All right. So I'm just going to give an overview of it, like what we are going to do. So first, the problem that we are trying to solve is in meetings. Sometimes, we have to take notes, or we need transcription to make it more accessible, and our speech service is great for that. But not only that, we also can translate it at the same time and make our meetings more diverse and inclusive, honestly. So that's the problem that we want to solve. And last week I talked about, like, when I have a problem like this, how do I get started? First, you should definitely, if you don't have it already, you should definitely go to aka.ms cognitive services free for the free trial for Azure. And that's the number one thing. Let me go to that link. Okay. So start free. You started. I already do have an account, but I'll show you what it looks like when I'm signed in. So it goes to the portal, and then we are going to create some new resources.
Great. And I saw that, so that's for 12 months, so like free for 12 months, right?
Oh.
Okay, never mind.
Yeah, well, that means,
gone.
I mean, you do have a credit, I think $250, but it expires in a year. So don't sign up if you're not going to just use it just yet.
Okay.
Okay, and then first thing is our applied AI services, because they are our ready-to-use services. And I would definitely check these to see if any of these are solving our problem. And in our case, this is not going to happen. But I think it's always better to start with applied AI services. And if it doesn't solve your problem, you can go to cognitive services and use one of those. And if that doesn't solve your problem also, you can do machine learning yourself.
Exactly. So then applied AI services are like higher level than cognitive services, right? They kind of, go ahead, you can explain.
Yeah, they are actually using cognitive services themselves. So cognitive services are the API endpoints, right? And applied AI is pretty much a solution. For example, form recognizer has ability to take in any picture of a ID, for example, and it knows how to identify the IDs, name, and the picture and everything else. So it's trained specifically for one purpose, and then there's some UI sometimes too that helps you to solve that problem. But if you are solving that problem yourself, what you need to do is use computer vision, maybe custom vision, right, to read every text in it, and then you also have to build a UI on top of it, right? Which is the challenge. So these are the most common use cases. So we have a solution instead of just giving you the API. But also applied AI services are extendable.
Got it. So people should start here, because if one of these already solves their problem, there's no point in reinventing the wheel, right? So start with the highest level thing. If that doesn't work, then go to cognitive services, which are like the building blocks of applied AI services. And if that doesn't work, come talk to me and do Azure ML and write your code from scratch, right?
Yeah, which is going to take a long time, right?
A very long time. Yes.
Yeah, you have to, if it's the form recognizer, for example, you have to do a lot of labeling, like Vijay just talked about.
Right. Okay, so now let's talk about cognitive services then. Which
Yeah.
cognitive services are you going to be using for your project?
Okay, so here we have categories of vision, language, decision, and speech is the one that we are going to use. And previously, if you wanted to transcribe something and then translate it, you have to use both language and speech for translation. But now we can do everything in one go, which will be great. So speech APIs are here. You can learn all about it. And then different development options are down here too. So you could use any of these languages, Java, JavaScript, C++, but also you can just make a call to an endpoint, API endpoint, so you don't have to worry about the language, basically. These are the languages that we have SDKs for, which makes developing much easier. So, okay, we are looking at the speech, and what we are going to do is first speech, we are going to translate speech to text, right? So where is, I see the text to speech. Oh, never mind. Yeah, I can't do this. So get started. You have all of these options here as well, and some code samples that you can start with. So let's go to our code base. Well, there was one last thing that I wanted you to do, which is go to the Speech Studio to check out all of the other abilities. And this is a great way to just try out some of these services. So real-time speech to text, you can just try it here. Hello, my name is Ayşegül. Well, my name is more challenging. So this is using the same endpoints and doing in real time, or you can have a recording too. And what you're going to get is a JSON just like this.
Got it.
And we are going to use the SDK endpoints, SDK methods to make it easy on ourselves. Cool.
Great.
And I do have a starting code sample. Well, actually, as you can see, I named one of them start, so we could start building from scratch. Have you used code spaces?
I have, yes. Not for a real project, though. I've played around with it.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I find it super useful.
Yeah, it is.
Basically,
yeah,
I do switch between Windows and Mac, so this makes it easy for me to, build anywhere. Basically, it's a virtual machine that you could use, and there's Visual Studio Code available, and I don't have to make sure that my computer is up to standard if I have the latest version of Node or Windows or whatever I need. Okay. As you can see, this is, how it would look on my normal Visual Studio Code. And, this is the one. Are you able to see?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, exactly. I was going to say make it a little bigger, but that's perfect. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And hi, everyone. If you have any questions, we are going fast because I talked about these previously, but please let us know.
Yeah, I'll be monitoring the comments. So if anybody has any questions for Ayşegül, I can certainly ask them. So.
Okay. So what we need to do is using the SDK, a couple of things. I have a checkbox for you. It's interesting. I can't check them, right? So we have to first create a resource. That's the very first thing. And just I wasn't sure what resource is at first, so I'll just explain it for anyone who's curious. Resource group is a way of putting together all of your different Azure services together. So one thing that you can do is for one of your apps, you can have a resource group. All of your Azure related stuff goes there, and then when you're done, you can just delete it, or separate the billing between different services. Does that make sense?
That makes sense. Yeah. Essentially, a resource group is a group of resources.
It wasn't very clear to me when I started. So why would we have a grouping? So since we are going to use speech, after we create, we just search for speech, and then you have all of these different options. Oh, even speech to text, but we are going to use the Microsoft one, as you can see, and I have a heart on it. Okay. Once we are here, you have to choose how the billing is going to work. So this is the organization, the subscription that we have. If you are doing it for yourself, this would be whatever name you gave it, or you can create a new one too. And I'm going to put this on a resource group to be organized. And even you need to choose the closest one to you. But one other issue with choosing the region that I run into, sometimes I want to use multiple capabilities, and some of them are, if they're in preview, they're not available in every location. So sometimes I do need to create multiple locations for it.
Yeah, I've certainly run into that. And also I'm wondering, like, you interviewed, was it Will, about green computing a while ago? So that's also something to take into consideration, right? Some of them are greener than others. And so if multiple of them work, being aware of which ones are greener, if you care about the environment, is also a good way to help you choose which one, right?
Yeah, very good point. And also, like, where most of your users are is important. If you have a popular application in Europe, you better choose the European locations and regions.
So we have a question that I'm going to show, Arshil. Can we create a VM to use the speech to text API?
Well, I'm actually using the GitHub Codespaces, which is a VM. And let me see, I think we do have a link here. Tools, I'll paste it. Okay. So basically, I'm not sure if you need to sign in now, but everybody gets 2 free ones for now, as far as I know. So, all right.
Great.
Cool. We are gonna get to the API. Okay. So, all right, we were creating this. And pricing here, there's standard, but there are sometimes for some services we have free or a different tier, but we have one available in this case. And if you are curious about the pricing, it's right here. Before you create anything, you get to learn about like how much it's going to cost to you.
That's really important, right? Like to have that transparency about price before people start using things.
Yeah.
It's really great.
Yeah. And some services are, more expensive than others. Like your experience with another service might not prepare you for,
Right.
It's hard to make the guess.
Yeah.
So, okay, I'm going to say, not going to do anything with identity, but this is how you could limit people's access to your servers. And I have to use an alias here. All right. And validation pass. And have we created? Oh, okay. No, there's still a create button. So we are just making sure everything is what we want and then create it.
Is it pretty like, yeah, okay. It's done. Yeah, pretty quick.
Once you created, you have an overview of it. And I really like this, and this is kind of new. We didn't have this before. If you scroll down, you see like Discover shows you like what you can do with these services. You can try it out here, like without having to write any code, for example. Let's try. Yep, it works. Stop it. And then, wait, how do I go back? Okay, get started also has development options. It tells you, how to get started with different SDKs. So right here, you have all of the options. And for monitoring, if you want to enable logging and memory, everything is here. Okay. Once you know what's happening, what you need to do is go to keys and endpoints, and then copy your key. And you also need the endpoint to use.
Okay.
And you create an environment file, in our case, environment and example. And then I can just copy and paste it right here and use it in my code. I'm not going to paste it because I have, I don't want to give you my key, and you should never give your key to anybody. And the other thing is you should never check it out to GitHub. So git ignore file allows you to not check in the environment files. So I'll just add that environment here if you already haven't. Cool. So those are the things that you need to start with at the very beginning. And then we have, okay, I actually deleted these and then was going to recreate it, but well, it didn't, apparently. Any questions so far? Did I confuse anyone?
There are no questions in the chat.
Yeah.
If people have questions, Ashville is happy to answer them.
Yes. All right. Let's go on.
Okay.
So speech to text, we already have this documentation here. Let's go to the quick starts and see what we need to do. Speech to text documentation. Okay. So what we want is real-time speech to text, and it is created here. SDK samples, JavaScript SDK. So one thing we need to do is npm install the JavaScript SDK. I thought I put it here, but apparently not. Let's see. So this is the name of the package, and in our case, we are going to install it.
Yeah.
All right. Once it is installed, we need to create a API endpoint to get the speech token. And you can find the code here, and copy and paste it too if you are interested.
Yep. Very handy.
For the newcomers, let me paste it here. Okay. What's happening here is we are setting the headers for the HTTP call, and we are getting the speech key from process.environment, And because we do have a .environment package that I already installed, that you could see on the package.json. So that's taking it from your .environment file, basically.
Okay.
And we need the region, and we are just checking if the key is that, or you just paste your key here, message, instead of, and then display an error, and set the headers and HTTPs. And okay, here we are also, the other thing that we are doing is creating the URL from the URL that we are going to make the call here. So we are adding our region, and then the rest of it is, I believe, written here. Yeah. So in this case, you could just like copy and paste that one instead of creating it, but it might change, so it's better to maybe write it in the code.
Yeah.
Have I confused anyone so far?
Not me. Anybody?
Oh,
anybody? It's been very clear. This is totally.
That was my purpose.
Very cool. Yeah.
To confuse you.
To confuse.
Okay. Let's see how much of it we do remember. So what did we say? API token at.get API speech token. Okay. And then we said, I'm not going to trust my memory. Okay, so response.set header content type application region. I'm just going to, should I copy and paste this to it here? When I don't sleep well, I type much slower too.
It's a bit like being drunk, isn't it?
I know, yeah.
Not
and
sleeping.
That's what the researchers said today. Speech key, go to process that environment dot speech key. So this is the name that I'm giving on the environment file. Oh, so it says speech key in this one. So make sure it's the same one. Yeah. Next.js. Okay. Well, good that I copied it, and I see the.
Yep.
Region is going to be processed. Have you ever what was it called when you develop together, two people?
Like like pair programming?
Yes. Have you ever done it?
I do that with my husband all the time.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, it's really fun.
Yeah.
And we also actually have like, sometimes like he'll be like with a laptop and I'll be with the keyboard, and they both feed to this, the keyboard also controls the laptop. So we'll even have two keyboards working on the same code. And so we can just like type a little bit and then the other person types a little bit and we're just sitting side by side.
Oh, that's very nice.
Yeah.
Oh.
I just did that over the weekend actually with him.
Oh.
We're learning genetic programming together. And so that's what we were doing.
What is that?
So it's a technique. We're using it for like equation discovery. So it's like a technique that can like, in our case, doing equation discovery, they can like start from like simple building blocks of equations, let's say x squared, log of x, sine of x, whatever. And then it can kind of help combine them in a way that will eventually, by usually using kind of like selection and mutations, just like biology, you know, like if you had like a family tree and some people have mutations, whatever, like in their DNA. So it kind of uses the same concepts as biology to evolve over time, to evolve those simple equations over time. So they may mate, they may mutate, they may, you know, and then eventually in the end, and it's kind of an optimization strategy. So like it's doing that in a way like that maximizes your objective in some way. And so in the end, then you end up with like an equation that actually matches your data. So the idea is that we have a bunch of data collected, and then we want to find an equation for it. And genetic programming is one technique to do that. So if we're successful, maybe there'll be a blog post in the future. But for now, we're just learning and reading the book and kind of that kind of stuff.
Oh, that's cool.
So there's a question that I'm going to post here. A great question from a live TV viewer. This is Abhinay from India. I'm interested in AI and ML, would like to switch careers to be an AI ML expert. How can I make a career of it? Well, that's something both Aishko and I did, you know. We didn't, I mean, when I was in college I did take an artificial intelligence class, but things were very different back then. So I'm not sure that any of that helped. So yeah, actually, one great way to do it is start with our MS Learn modules. Start learning with our MS Learn modules. 30 Days to Learn is actually a great one. The one there's many learning paths that you can choose from there. The one that Aishka and I are mostly passionate about is the Azure AI Fundamentals one, because it covers both Azure ML and cognitive services. So it's very relevant to the things that we talk about in the show. So that's one way. You know, just start learning, start doing certifications, start reading, start playing with the code, and eventually, you know, build up a portfolio of things that you've done on GitHub and start applying for jobs and tell people, hey, you know, this is what I can do, this is what I know. So that's one way. I personally went to grad school, but I don't think that's everybody's path. It's what worked for me. Like I felt like I needed I wanted to study applied math, and it seemed like it was like studying applied math with machine learning, like pairing them together was interesting to me. So that's what I did, but it's certainly not what I see most people doing. Like I work, you know, in my school, you know, we all work with lots of people our age, and most people that do AI and ML at Microsoft, and most of those people certainly did not learn that in college. You know, we're pretty much self-taught. What about you, Aishka? What do you have to say about this?
And these technologies are, I mean, some of the stuff are very new, right? Like the learning never stops. As B described, like I was a normal full stack developer and I didn't know anything about AI or machine learning. But the cool thing is I don't do the machine learning part. So I usually use the cognitive services, which are ready to use services. It's just the API endpoint away. So it's just like making a call to any other API. And then you can do a lot of stuff. But one thing that is challenging is to figure out the best practices. Like the technical part is easy, right? Making the call and everything. But like thinking about what would work, what would not work, what would be a hard task versus easy task, that was the most important learning that I had, I think.
Yeah, and also like one cool thing is that during the month of February, Ashil and I will be going over the Azure AI Fundamentals learning path from the 30 Days to Learn. So if you want to learn more about that, come see us in February, and we'll help you go through that learning path.
Yeah. And it's not just the learning path, you also get a certification discount, right?
Yeah, I think it's 50% off. If you complete it within 30 days, then you get 50% off your Microsoft certification, which I think is very cool because they're not cheap. So it's certainly a great way to save some money.
So yeah, stay tuned. Use February to learn AI and machine learning.
Yeah.
And most of them were AI, actually, cognitive services. for these 30 days to learn. So
Yes.
it's really fun to go through it and just see like what is possible, what's not possible, what's easy. Yeah.
All right, let's go back to your demo.
Yeah. Where are we? Okay. So we are just checking if this note is still there. And if it is, we have to respond with an error. Respond status 400. Everybody is responsible from my misspellings.
Because we're not correcting it.
Well, if you don't, we haven't.
You don't correct
yet. To your environment file. Oh, did you see what just happened there?
That was amazing.
I know. I love it. I love it. It's so cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, let me tell you what this is. This is one of the extensions of code, and it is called Copilot. Wait a minute. I have to reload. Let me reload actually, because I do want this in my code. So what I did there is to add it to the Dev container. Dev container is defined right here. It's a Docker file. In our case, there's Node.js, and I put the extensions over here. So you will have the same extensions if you use this. We could also do like port forwarding and stuff like that, or say that when you start the container, you just install, or you can put any other comment there. All right, I'm just going to rebuild because I changed it. So this is RVM. We are rebuilding it. It takes a few minutes in first time you run it, but later on.
Like since we're waiting for that, while we're waiting for that, we have another question. So Aman says that he's certified. So you're certified with the AZ 900 Azure Fundamentals. You want to switch to DevOps. Can I have a chance to grow career with Microsoft? I for sure know that's kind of what we were saying before, that most people haven't learned these things in college or even grad school. Like most people our age that work in this field have done certifications, have learned online, have read books. And the certification you've done is certainly a great way to prove that you know your stuff. I think, to me, like if I were hiring, like if I were a hiring manager, I think one thing that I would want to see, in addition to certifications, is a good portfolio. So I would make sure that you like have a few projects that you've worked on that are interesting, that you can explain in an interview. So I think that's one suggestion I would make on top of that certification.
Oh. I just pasted the link for our Microsoft Careers, so you can just go there and look for the open positions. And we do have offices all around the world, so wherever you are, definitely do check it out.
Yeah.
All right. Have you done any of the certification?
I have not. To be real, or better, I've done a lot of those like Coursera's and stuff, but I never actually get the certification. I just do them because I want to learn. So I never like go and get like you're certified, you achieved this thing. So I really did personally rely a lot more. Well, first, also because I went to grad school, so I felt like it was once you have, once I had that, if it didn't feel like the certifications added much. But personally, I also felt like the portfolio was a big deal for me with getting hired at Microsoft. Having a really good set of projects that I could talk about in the interview, that I can say that I've done, that I understand, was really a big deal. So that's why I was kind of making that recommendation, because I feel like it helped me, and I think it would help everybody.
Yeah, it's so nice. And you were talking about your passion projects too. So It's always nice to see those. Yeah, how what will be a good starting project, you think, for a new starter?
Well, there are many classic ones. The MNIST is the classification of numbers, and MNIST is the most common one. Is like the one that every machine learning course will typically ask you to do that as your first homework if you take an actual course in college. I actually have a version of it in my blog that uses the fashion MNIST, which instead of classifying numbers, you classify clothing items, like this is a boot, this is a shirt, that kind of stuff. But the difficulty level is the same as the numbers. It's just a slightly different data set. So if you go to my blog, and I will post, how can I do that? Maybe in banners. I will create a banner in my blog. If you go to my blog, then you can find that.
Awesome.
I'm going to show it. So there you can find what I would say would be the typical first project that somebody would do in college or not, which would be the classification of images using MNIST.
Cool. Even before then, you can always start with cognitive services too. And we have this thing called Powerapps that makes it really easy for you to create the UI itself too. So you don't have to worry about building the whole thing and deploying too. Have you ever used it?
I have not. I've seen lots of demos though, and I'm really impressed with what can be done with it.
Yeah. It is nice to have that option.
Yeah. Well, this is my favorite part. Are we going to see it working?
Actually, we are going to see not working and then working, hopefully.
Okay.
Yeah. So what happened is, because we changed the dev container and we said post create command, it did do the yarn install.
Okay.
And then on package.json, we have some scripts. I run the dev, and that uses both a server and then starts the project. So the project is here, but because I deleted some of it, it's not working. So what we are going to do is try to, when we click on this, we should be getting the transcription.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Index.js. What else do we have? Okay. We had an error message, and we should do an else, right? So it is already giving me this is the magic of Copilot. Yeah. So it's giving me an option, constant token, is this what you want to do? Or we could also see other options, like what else it is telling us to do. So here we have the speech token, and then we are waiting for, we are creating this URL that we are going to call. And then setting the headers. Yeah, this sounds pretty good to me. I think that's what we were doing.
Wow.
Yeah.
Pretty impressive.
Isn't it? Yeah, it's like pair programming without anybody.
Yeah. Pair programming with a machine, with a robot.
Yeah, it's really nice. All right. Now we do have this response. I think, let me double check that this is all we had here. So we created speech region. So what we have is try and catch. So we catch the errors. So this is better, but basically what we are doing is pretty much the same. We are sending a response from it. And one thing we are missing is that also, I think, this content type.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Okay. What happened? This changed. I think I might have.
Did it?
pressed on something. Did it? Oh no, maybe not.
I don't think so.
Never mind.
Yeah.
All right. And this try and catch is a better way to do it. So I'm just gonna copy and paste that. All right. And we are listening on port 3001, and on our package.json, we are mentioning the proxy. So it is going to be on local 3001. And this is our get. So awesome. This works. Next, we have the token utility function. So we are using a library here called universal cookies. So it's helping us to create the cookie and then save it to our local storage, basically.
Okay.
Yeah. So I have been going on. Like, do we have any other questions? We don't have to.
Well, we have here a question. So we are not using C#. So Ashkel is using JavaScript for this.
Mm-hmm.
So that's yeah. In the show, we do a lot of Python and JavaScript, but today it's JavaScript.
Yeah, but it's all the same, basically, what you need to do in generally. And we have a C# API that has probably exactly the same methods. So don't get stuck on the detail of JavaScript, but what you need to do, the steps that we define here, there is going to be the same for every language.
Yeah.
All right. So let's go and see how we can transcribe it first. So here, this is JavaScript detail that you don't have to care. We have the app.js file, and oh, yeah, this has everything too. I thought I deleted all of these. What it's doing is creating some data to start this component. So basically, we are initializing our display text, which is saying we are ready to test the speech. And then we are checking for our token. And if it's not there, we have an error, which is our situation right now, right? Could not proxy API speech token from localhost to. Waiting for file changes before starting. Okay. Let's see.
Headers.
Headers is not defined. Yes, index.js.
Oh, that's ESLint.
Headers is not defined. Why is it not defined? 29. Oh,
look
not
at your
yet.
code. You had a
copy the whole thing. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, because maybe you have the suggestion that was given to you wasn't perfect.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So I'm going to copy and paste it. I hope you do that too.
Yeah.
And okay, so things seem to be working fine. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Now, initializing your test. Hello. What am I talking about right now? Oh, text is equal to the what? Oh, hello. Are you listening and writing? Are you? Okay. I have to keep it clicked, but other than that, it's good. All right. So we have the display message for if we don't have it. Have the if we are having an error on our token, and if not, we have the take speech to text from the microphone. So this is assigned to the click events that we have. So if we have this clicked, then that function is going to start running. And normally, you also ask for the use of microphone. Because I gave it already, it's not asking one more time. But if things are not working, that's one of the things to check. And you can check it here, actually, by going to settings. Yeah, all right. So in this one, we have we are waiting for the token. That's a asynchronous function. And then remember, we're going to create the speech configuration. So this speech configuration details are coming from our SDK, which we import right here. Yes. And then speech SDK, we are requiring the library that we npm install at the very beginning.
Okay.
Right? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So the speech config is just a object that you initialize, and it covers a lot of details for you with the formatting of the audio and everything else. And then it has a function from authorization token, and that you could actually see all of the methods and their parameters.
Okay.
I'm having a hard time to speak. Let me. One thing Seth has and we don't have is developer jokes, actually.
His dad jokes, right? Too.
Yeah.
We need to borrow his book of dad jokes.
I know. But even if we borrow, like, he has the style, you know?
I know. It's never going to be said. Yeah.
He's a real dad.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
We're not dads.
So here we have the token object for authorization, and then the region. And one thing that we have to specify, not really have to actually, normally can specify, is the main language. What is the language that I'm speaking? So we are transcribing that.
So it will be able to recognize it better if you specify the language, but if you don't specify the language, will it still recognize it?
Yes, you do have. I think it's not by default, but you can enable it so it can recognize any language. But if you already know
right,
your audience, it's better to do that. So one less thing for AI to think about.
Yeah.
And again, Speech SDK has a audio config, and from the default microphone input. So that you don't have to understand the web's audio APIs or anything like that. It's all taken care of by the SDK. And then we create a speech recognizer object, and we give the speech config and audio config, and then initialize it. Once we have that, we can either do start recognizing, start listening for the input using organize once async, but also you can do it without, synchronously as well. And this one is also looking for the file. If you want to upload and do a batch, this is what it's doing. Let's see. It's using almost everything is the same. Just one change is from WAV file input. So WAV file is a specific format of audio. So you have to use the right one. And these are event listeners, basically. And once you have the results, every time there's a result, you have the reason. And if the reason is recognized speech, then you're taking the results text and then displaying it. Otherwise, there's an error. Yeah. And this is not important part of it, which is the HTML. Like,
Yeah, you
but
are.
I just wanted to show you file change event is happening here. So we are saying anytime somebody clicks on this input, and the microphone. Okay, yeah, microphone event is happening here on click, and then this is, we are setting to this function. All right, so hello, is everything working okay? Are we there yet? Yeah. All right.
Nice.
Yes. So now we have this, but we can also, it would be great if we have some translations, and we do have time for it. Yay.
Yeah, we do. This time we do.
Yeah. Okay. How to translate. So basically, these are all the same steps that we need to do. But instead of using speech config, we can use speech translation config object, which will both transcribe and translate. We have to define the region, recognition language, and then the rest is the same. And the recognizer is translation recognizer. So let's take a look. One other thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate the what would you call it? The
Text
input box. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see. Do I? Okay. So let's start by changing the speech config. Is the same. The instead of speech, what did we say? Speech translation config. Okay. One other thing that the professors were explaining today, if you're driving with without sleep, apparently every time you blink, you're kind of going into a tiny sleep session.
Oh, wow. Yeah. So José, he's back from Brazil. He's our regular.
Hi.
Hi, José. He has a comment for you, Aishko. In the end of the session, could you show us your gadgets in your background?
Yeah. Let me do it actually.
You can do it now.
So who can tell what this is? Anyone know? What? Yeah. I wish I would have a like.
I wish
Is AI better?
I wish you would have an app that would recognize what those things are, right? That would do like classification, image classification.
Exactly. We actually do have it. Yeah. Let me find that link and post it too. And this is HoloLens. And
Yeah,
it's actually really cool. And I can show you what I'm seeing here too. But
José says he loves our sessions. Yay! Thank you. We love having you here. And he's saying HoloLens.
Jose Silva. Yeah, first one. Yay, Jose, you do know it. Yeah, the AI model that I trained was able to figure out which one it is better than my husband, actually. So this is the second one. The other one was the first one, and I have a bunch of VR headsets. This is not Microsoft, but Oculus. Basically, the difference is that with VR, you don't have any connection to the outside world. But with HoloLens, you actually do have, and then you can even, put it up. So it's really good if you are working with the machinery and a lot of Yeah, most of the time machinery. Yeah, it is very good.
And from Nigeria. Great job. Thanks to everyone. Beautiful video.
Thank you. I hope you played with it. Yeah, check out the code base here too. I'll paste it one more time for anyone.
I still want to see the translation part.
Yes. So we changed the speech translation configuration, and then speech recognition language is not going to change. And one other thing I was doing here was giving options for the languages and then looping through those options to add the target language. So
Yeah.
let me paste this. Recognizer. I think here. And then we have to define the options. Maybe here. Oh, no.
Oops. I think you added a C. Yeah, exactly.
Okay. And it's going to be a object, and let's see what was the I actually don't have it here, so let me go check on my GitHub if it's there. I just don't want to have a randomly typed options. So let me see what I put in here. Speech security from config, speech config from authorization. Well, this is not the one. All right. There is. Oh, I wish I put down the. Okay, so this is. Sorry, I'm just going on and on, but I'll find it. I promise. So it should be here on the mass. Okay, options. Yay.
Found it. Yeah.
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 All right. So this is Turkish, Spanish, and Portuguese. Oh, okay. So I was wondering if I did Portuguese. I wasn't sure.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Me and Jose, we both appreciate it.
Oh, are you from Brazil, Jose?
Jose is, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, he's a regular.
That's nice.
Yeah.
All right. Our recognizer, we also have to change it to translation recognizer. If we go down, speech recognizer becomes the translation recognizer. And other than that, pretty much it's the same. Okay, so what is also happening here when I'm recognizing, because I have multiple languages now, I'll just change what happens when the language is recognized. I'll click this and then, all right. One last thing that we have to do. Let me change Klingon to Portuguese, which is...
Klingon is the best. Klingon.
You don't want your language? You don't want to...
No, I want my language, yeah.
So, recognizer, okay. So this one, I'm going to change it to PG.
Okay.
EP, okay. All right, we are setting our data in our components, and these are going to change on our HTML, basically. since I've done this, let me make sure I don't want to worry about the render function, the HTML. What I did is basically copied and pasted and change few of the naming conventions. Okay. Were you going to say something? Sorry, did I cut you off?
No, nothing.
Okay. All right. Let's see. Make sure that we saved it. Tum 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 tum. Jose says, thank you for including. Of course. If I knew, we would include Nigerian languages too.
Yeah.
All right. We do have a problem. Let's see what's going on. Error, build failed. React script able. Semicolon.
Maybe when pasting some line stuff behind or something.
I guess you're right. So in that case, what I'm going to do is copy
the whole thing.
Yes.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah. And I still have to be a little bit more careful because we don't have the props in that code that is copied. It's starting from where we start to get the microphone input. Okay, so here down, basically.
Okay.
Right. So this should do it. Well, Portuguese is gone again, but
that's okay. Klingon is funny.
Yeah. Let's see. It's still complaining about something. Okay, so that wasn't the whole thing. Huh. Why? I thought if I copy everything, oh, for some reason this is selected. Okay, now if I copy, it should copy everything.
Okay.
So I hope this is not worse than going to a dentist for you guys. It feels like it could be.
Oh, the reward will be amazing on this one because the demo is so cool. So you'll be able to like see somebody talking and have it translated all at once, like simultaneously, which is very cool.
Yeah,
and it's like the superpower. It's like a superpower I wish I had, you know, like if I could like pick a superpower, just speak any language.
Yeah. Do you speak any other?
Oh, no, just Portuguese and English. I studied Chinese because I lived in China for a little bit. So at some point I could speak a little enough to get myself in trouble. And, you know, being Portuguese, I speak a little Spanish. And I learned French in school, so I speak a little French. But nothing like super, like, nothing super well.
Yeah, I did learn a lot, but I forgot a lot more.
What languages did you learn?
I learned Italian, German, French, but can't speak any of them.
I also learned German. I forgot that. I learned German. I took some German classes for a few years also. But I don't speak any anymore.
Yeah, the cool thing about growing up in Europe is all of the languages you start hearing, right? In the early age.
Right, exactly.
Okay, we are.
There's like maybe a mismatched. Do you think? Okay. Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
All right.
Yeah. Okay. Let's try that.
Nope.
No.
Module build fail. Paper loader missing semicolon. Okay. Where is the missing semicolon? Oh, is it? Render. Let me see. The render function, we did copy and paste it here. And then we have the set state, recognize the async function. We do have all of these, and then the render. Any
Could it be that the render has a missing semicolon because it had some little red underline in render?
after the container?
Yeah.
Yeah, it does have. All right. Where are we? This is our main. This should actually work, but let's see.
Okay. That's what happens with live coding, right?
Exactly. That's why
Not everything works perfectly the first time.
I know. Wait a minute. Still, React select can't find that module. Let's see. Anyone else seeing what is the problem here? Do tell us. You are part of it. We are doing this together. So we do have the two terminal here, npm can't. Oh, token utility function. It's not able to take that, get that. Oh, but it is here. Everything seems to be okay. Okay, if we can fix this, it's going to be a mystery for the next time to be solved.
Do you have it running somewhere, like the final thing?
Yeah, this should run.
Okay.
Right. In here. Yeah. I don't know. I actually deleted a lot of it by mistake. So I also changed the keys, but I don't think that's that. React select can't find the module React select. That's interesting. Let me npm install again. I don't know. So everybody, you have to come for the mysteries.
The next one, yeah. But we'll tell you what it's supposed to do. So you're supposed to be able to talk in your microphone in a language and then have it translate automatically to another language, any other language. Well, not any, but almost. Like real time on the web. And if you watch Icicle's Ignite video, you'll see her demo this like really well. Well, a lot quicker because it was a very short demo, but you'll see it working like in a really cool way.
Let's see if this one will work. I showed my key by mistake last my last talk, so I changed it, but I don't think this is the problem. Why? Oh. Okay, let's see. I messed up the working version of it, unfortunately.
Yeah.
All right. So it is installing one more time. Yeah, npm run start. Let's start it again. Any questions that? Oh, hi, VJ. I edited you by mistake. Thank you for hanging with us. Okay, H2 protocol error.
Well, maybe we could just show like the final product in the next show.
Yeah.
Just show it working, just doing the demo. like
Yeah.
and then showing people where to go find the code.
Mhm.
We have about 6 minutes left. Um, So, two announcements. So first, don't forget to watch Seth's show in a week, same time, same place. Same place as your living room or your office or whatever, wherever you have your computer. And Seth, what is Seth going to talk about? He's going to have a guest, Disha Agarwa, talking about general availability. So it'll be like question answering and general availability. So you should come if you want to listen to dad jokes. That's the place to be. It's this show in a week with Seth Juarez. And the other announcement that we've kind of already talked about it, but I would just like to go over a little more better, right? Like, so in the next two shows that Ashkel and I do, which is in February. Actually, I'm not going to be here on the second one of those. I'm only going to be here in the first one. But the next two shows in February, we're going to be talking about the 30 Days to Learn challenge, where Ashkel is going to be talking about some cognitive services parts. Oh, Therapy Square. Seth, do you want to tell us more about what you're going to be talking about next week? So let us know, and we'll put here we'll show here in the chat. But anyway, so February, 30 Days to Learn, we're going to be showing, Ashkel's going to be talking about some of the cognitive services learn modules that are present in that 30 Days to Learn challenge. And the idea is if you complete it within 30 days, if you complete the learn path within 30 days, then you get 50% off your Microsoft certification. And so it's a great deal. You don't want to miss it. So come and watch Ashkel talk about it. And so Seth says he has no idea what he's going to talk about. Seth, that's why we have guests, right? Because they know a lot of stuff that we don't. Right? So yeah, so we want, yeah, like I'm sure that your guest will know a lot more about what you want to talk about. Jose says, let's call Seth.
So I'm actually going to share and show you one more time. Oh, stop.
Did it work?
Yeah, because I stashed my changes.
All right, let's show it.
Okay.
We
All
still
right.
have 3 minutes.
Anyone speaks any Spanish? Seth, you
Seth
have to.
does. Seth
Yes.
does, I think.
All right, let's start. What?
No.
Oh, the token. All right. Yeah, I'm not using the correct token. That's why it's not working. But yeah, I will check this out to the GitHub repository so you could see and play with it and come back next time. We'll solve the mysteries.
I wish we could add Seth so he could tell us more about his show, but
yeah,
Seth, can you come? Can you come in?
Yeah, I'm sending over with the Teams the link. We need that joke, Seth. We have only 2 minutes. You can do
Jose says, oops, not that. What does Jose say? He says, thank you again. See you next Friday. Yay! Well, next Friday you'll see Seth. 2 Fridays you'll see us again. You should come to both though. And Seth will have Disha Agarwal talk about what's new in question answering. Okay, so I kind of messed that up. So that's what he's going to talk about. Good. So you should come.
Yeah. 1 more minute. Looks like we're not going to make it to Seth. But thank you everyone for coming and
to
our show. It's been great to have you. And we'll see you next time.
Let me unmute VJ. Let me unmute him. Oh, there's Seth. We have everybody. Look at that.
We'll see.
Seth, you have 1 minute to advertise your show.
I don't even know. I do a review next week, like on Monday or Tuesday. I have no idea what I'm doing. Anybody that thinks I know what's going on.
And yet it will be awesome. That's the power of Seth.
Exactly. It's going to be so good.
Thank you, Seth, for making everything better.
We'll see y'all soon. Next week. Be there or be square.
Yeah. Goodbye, everyone.
Bye.